Wow, that's a tremendous looking trophy.
Welcome to another One PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. My name's Dylan Blunt. Joining me, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here to talk about not State of Play again.
No, I was literally thinking about this last night. Yeah, last night or at work yesterday at some point. I was just, not only because obviously it helps this show.
Gets those numbers up. Everybody needs to check in.
Everyone needs a State of Play in their life to help out. You know, Nintendo's over there doing a million Nintendo Directs that helps out these Nintendo podcasts. And, you know, just all State of Play needs information. But also just from a consumer, whatever, PlayStation fan point of view, I'm like, I want it. I need this State of Play now. I need one. I would like one to happen, especially because of all the Last of Us stuff. And we're going to be talking about The Last of Us quite shortly, but every time I keep reading, like, on a weekly basis at the moment, you know, Last of Us rumors. And they're not going to, because we've got the State of Play now, I highly doubt that we're going to wake up one morning and The Last of Us 2's release date's just going to be announced. I would put 100% all my money on it being announced during the State of Play, obviously, so...
I don't know. They could just do a 24-hour, 36-hour Twitch stream of just a forest with creepers talking around.
That's fucking Kojima at his, you know, his thing or whatever. I doubt they'll do that again for every game. That'd be silly. State of Play, that's for sure what I reckon is. This week on the show, though, Bronze Trophy in the Trophy Cabinet, July's PS Plus games again, a Silver Trophy, debunking some rumors, Ash's nonsense. Last of Us 2 definitely coming in February. Gold Trophy, Sony talking about requiring more studios, and we hit a platinum with Josef Ferrer's ruffling some feathers, and that's always fun stuff to read about. But first, Sony changed the PlayStation Plus game, so this was a really weird thing. And they put up on the PlayStation blog, they're like, hey, we understand that everyone was upset and you didn't like the games, and so we've decided to change them, which I thought was weird, because I feel like, honestly, every month, no matter what the games are, unless it's like Borderlands or something huge, no matter what the games are, usually the comments are full of everyone complaining. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter
what games are there, everybody's going to be upset.
Exactly. So I found it quite odd. But then, the Six Axis says this story. It says July's pair of PlayStation Plus titles are now available to download and play, adding to the dozens of free games Sony has pulled out, doling out. So these two new titles include Arcade Racer Horizon Chase Turbo, as well as last year's Android thriller Detroit Become Human. So that was the game that was out. And it's also worth noting that it is Detroit Become Human
Deluxe Edition?
Deluxe Edition or whatever it is. So
you are digital getting, Deluxe Edition.
Yeah, so you're getting with that you're getting Beyond Two Souls, and I think Heavy Rain as well?
No, I think it's just Heavy Rain.
Okay, just Heavy Rain. It was one of the... I couldn't remember because I kept seeing conflicting
Heavy Rain,
stories.
You get the digital art book, you get the digital soundtrack, a bunch of avatars, and Cyberlife and main character appears for dynamic themes.
Cool. So it's better than just the game. It's like, here's all the things.
Yeah.
And another game. Get excited about. But the weird thing about this is, of course, the changing of the game. The original game was, as this says, when first announced in June, Sony revealed both Horizon Chase Turbo and Pro Evolution Soccer 2019. Well, it said 13. Then, just before adding its newest pair of games to the service, Sony pulled the old switcheroo. When GameSpot reached out to Konami for more information, it replied, quote, "This decision was made by Sony, and so please make an inquiry to Sony." In turn, Sony responded by saying, quote, "We have decided to make a change to the PlayStation Plus games lineup this month, and we will be offering Detroit Become Human Digital Deluxe Edition instead of PES 2019. This decision was because we decided to make as a company, and we apologize for any inconvenience." So, PES has been taken down. Konami had nothing to do with it, which leads to several questions. I'll get your opinion on something after this to do with if you think this is okay, I guess. But firstly, it just leads to weird questions about how the PlayStation Plus deals can be made. Because obviously Sony had a deal locked in with Konami for PES. You know, the deal was done and dusted. So does this potentially mean that they make a lot of these deals for games, and they could have made this deal for PES months and months and months ago, and they kind of just keep games, in a figurative cabinet to pull out and mix and match. You know what I'm saying? Or do you?
Yeah.
Or how do you think this works? Because if they already made a deal if they made a deal for PES, and then even if they pulled the old switcheroo and Konami kind of didn't know anything about it until it happened, they've still made a deal for PES to be on PlayStation Plus, but maybe the contract or whatever doesn't say, hey, just for July. Maybe they could have PES actually go next month with another game, so people wouldn't be so annoyed about it, because I feel like it wasn't just PES, it was the fact it's Horizon, Turbo, blah, blah, blah. People are okay, sure, and then PES. And that's what pissed people off. It was two mediocre games to a lot of people, or two games that weren't going to grab a lot of people. Whereas next month, maybe they put PES up and they get another game to pair it with that'll receive less criticism. Yeah, or hate straight up, yeah. How do you think it works, though?
I have no idea. This is an odd story. It's interesting that they point out that obviously PES 2020 is coming out soonish, and we expect a demo to drop apparently for that. So you would think they'd want to put out, if it's part of the PlayStation Plus thing, sooner rather than later. We could be getting PES next month. Who knows? Or it could just be a running gag for the next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to have me checking. Every month I'll be like, is PES here? Is PES here?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
What about PES?
Do you just pay that money and suck the loss?
I don't know. Yeah. It's unless they there was a budgeting issue or something, we can't. There's a reason behind the scenes that financially or contract wise that they pulled it. Who knows?
Interesting. I don't know. Well, they said it was just for the hate, so I don't know. But yeah, that leads to the second thing of this that I'm found quite weird, because obviously when it was announced, we talked about the games last week, and I was like, it's a pretty shit month. Probably one of the worst months. My opinion on it doesn't change. But I honestly, as much as I'm the month sucked, I would have rather them just stuck to it, because I guess it comes down to my similar thoughts about the Sonic movie and stuff. I feel like once you open the gate of, if enough people complain about stuff like this, it'll change, then you're just opening yourself to potential problems in the future. You know what I'm saying? Because now people could complain more, and they're like, well, you changed it before. These games are shit, change them. That's what they're going to have to potentially deal with now in the future. So I don't know if dealing with that is worth it compared to just having a shit month of PlayStation Plus games. But how do you feel about it? Do you think it was the right decision, or?
I mean, yeah, it seems a bit odd to change for public opinion. I mean, especially with something that's already got a deal set in.
Yeah.
It just seems sort of out of the blue and out of character more than anything else.
Yeah, it's not even a big deal, really. It's PlayStation Plus games. Really, how big of a... People would have complained the first week the games dropped, and they would have gone to playing whatever and got over it, kind of thing.
Yeah. Where did you see they say hate? Have you got somewhere specifically that says it was because of the hate? Because it's not in the blog post.
No, that's just assumption, I guess everyone's just making. Because they gave no reason. They're just like, we changed the games. We made a decision as a company to change the games. But everyone's assuming it's hate simply because if you look at the comments on the original post, which I was scrolling through on the show last week, I can't remember. It was bad, but worse than normal.
Maybe.
Notably.
Yeah.
And Facebook comments, Twitter comments to the announcement, all these random things I clicked in, I did feel like they were louder, I guess, than
maybe
previous months. But if it's not that, I have to wonder what it is, honestly.
It's a conspiracy. EA came in and said, we don't want you to be pushing PES. They've got some sort of deal with FIFA coming up. And they put their foot down and said, hey, you can't be pushing this PES game.
Maybe it'll be weird. I saw a press release come through the email the other day that I didn't care about for obvious reasons, but it said, I think it was PES has signed a deal, or Konami or whatever, with Arsenal and what's the other big
Manchester
soccer?
United.
Manchester, thank you.
Manchester City.
Like signed a deal with both of them or something like that. So,
could be a behind-the-scenes conspiracy. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe.
Maybe you've got the FIFA. I think PlayStation's like the behind the E-League for a lot of FIFA. Obviously, it's not a PC thing. So.
Oh, they are actually. They are because I see press releases for that. They are.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like this isn't a good. It's a bit of a conflict of interests. It's not good for PlayStation. So or FIFA. So
we need to get some #Gamergate on this shit.
Yeah. Need the truth.
Where's your
PS Plus gate?
We need to find true. Yeah, PlayStation Plus gate. PS gate. PS gate. Something, I don't know.
We're not good at coming up with hashtags.
Yeah.
It just needs to have a gate in it, though.
Yeah, it just needs to have a gate. That's all I know. That's really all I know to make hashtags. In case you didn't know, Spider-Man, of course. Far From Home came out last week. I don't know if I presume everyone cares about Spider-Man movies at this stage, really. If you want to hear our thoughts on the movie, you can check out our spoiler review discussion on youtube.com/Explosion Network or explosionnetwork.com, of course. Find your way to that. But once you're done doing that and watching the movie and do all the things, if you want to play some more Spider-Man, you got some more skins in the old Marvel Spider-Man for PS4. They never stop. They're just always ready to fucking pump out skins for this game. So IGN wrote up and says, as announced by the PlayStation Japan Twitter account, Peter's upgraded suit and stealth suit will be available to players for free, as confirmed by the PlayStation blog. The suits are available today as of writing, as you're listening to this, of course. Acting as a simultaneous launch with the Spider-Man Far From Home movie, boot up the game and update to patch 1.16 to start swinging with them. The addition of these suits brings Marvel Spider-Man MCU suit count up to 5. The original MCU Spider-Man suit, Peter's DIY suit from before he met Tony Stark, the Iron Spider suit, and these 2 new Far From Home variants. So it says, that means literally every MCU Spidey is in the game alongside the Raimi suit and the Spider-Verse suit. You love this game.
I do.
You love Spider-Man.
Probably not. There's no like gameplay reason to go back.
I know, you got photo mode though.
That's true, but
you're not a big photo mode person.
No, I'm not a big photo mode. It might be fun just go back, swing through the city. It's funny, I was hanging out with a friend today. We went to EB Games, had a look. She hasn't bought a PlayStation yet. She's waiting till tax time. And
that's now.
Yeah, that's now. So she's about to move, so she's going to wait till that. But she picked up Spider-Man and I said, they've got the new suits. It's probably the best time now to be playing Spider-Man because you've got all these suits that weren't available when we played that you can play the game with.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
This is how I feel about Spider-Man. This is how I feel about Batman Arkham games. What have you? If there's a skin, a suit, or something, I prefer to play through the story mode with just default on.
Yeah, that's true.
I
mean, I played most of the story, but you'd switch them up. And all these suits would have different power abilities, I assume.
I don't know if they do. I highly doubt they do have powers. I don't think any of the others did, so I don't think these will either. These are more just cosmetic ones. But the thing with the powers in the Spider-Man games is that you don't have to wear the actual suit. Or, you can unlock the powers and then just change suits anyway, so you could mix and match sort of thing. So, which is good, obviously, because I hate when games like this armor or whatever has a power that you like, but it looks like trash. So then I always end up wearing the shittier piece of armor or whatever, just because I like the way I look better, and then get a shitty power up or boost or what have you. So I like the way they do that. But
still, it'd be fun to clear all the random stuff on the map, in different suits to get that platinum trophy.
It's like, if I hadn't already got the platinum and done all the DLC and everything, it'd just be a constant that's a reason to jump back in and try and do that. Yeah. There's a reason to try and jump in there. And then also, I like photo mode stuff. I like doing photo mode stuff. And in another world where the idea of spending an hour fucking around in a suit to take a bunch of photos seems like a good use of my time, I could potentially see myself getting more excited about this, because I do like photo mode. I like fucking around with that stuff, and that's fun. And that's kind of one of the cool things about when I saw these skins drop. It's just like, cool. That means Twitter is about to be filled up with a bunch of cool photos.
Videos.
And then
Sunny Legend.
Yeah, exactly. And then over the next couple of days, I started seeing people like, I think the first person I saw post was even like Andrew Goldfarb, XIGN, of course. He was like posting up a bunch of photo mode stuff he took in the suits and whatever else. So that game's good for that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The photo mode stuff and just seeing suits.
It's almost a year now. It could go back into the New Game Plus.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And I did originally start that hard mode playthrough as well. If I ever decide to go back and do that, which I played through the start, and I would stick to it and say, wouldn't be a breeze, but you can do hard mode on New Game Plus and have all your abilities and stuff. So I feel like it brings down the difficulty a little bit on that one. Yeah. All right, so let's get into this last sort of stuff.
Get ready. If you haven't bought Spider-Man, buy Spider-Man. Play Spider-Man. Best time possible.
On there. Yeah. I mean, I honestly feel like there's a Spider-Man
the best
movie
value
6 months, but
is right now.
Yeah, have they put out? No, they haven't put out a comes with all DLC on the disc.
Not
they
yet.
Never did a Game of the Year edition type thing or whatever, or a complete edition or something.
No,
maybe they'll put that out sometime in the future.
Maybe. I know it's not on the list, but I saw that they did the Arkham is coming in September.
Oh, I saw that. I was not bringing it. I was now that you've mentioned it, let me just say. There was a leak, Amazon leak or something. Apparently, there's going to be another Arkham collection announced for this week.
No
It's
Origins.
going to have, so it's going to have without Origins. All it is adding is Arkham Knight to the collection. Big fucking whoop de do.
It's a nice looking steelbook. I mean, they're just bringing out a physical edition. You could already get it digitally.
Yes.
So
and that came out last year, wasn't it?
Probably. I mean, it can't be that hard to make it.
No. But also you could probably buy the Return to Arkham or whatever collection and then Arkham Knight separately for cheaper than whatever the fuck this thing is going to cost when it comes out.
But that steelbook, man, it looks pretty.
If I see the steelbook for like $20, then I'll be a sucker. Up until that point, if you only want to play the games, you don't care about steelbook, I highly suggest you could just probably buy them on a PlayStation sale for cheaper separately at this point. Just fucking announce the next game and stop porting or pushing and collection these goddamn games. Show me what Rocksteady's working on. Get back in the back cave.
They need that extra funding.
They do not. They're backed by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers has enough money to put out 20 shitty DC movies and fail, so they can fund fucking Rocksteady.
They should be able to. They got all that Aquaman money.
Exactly. Yeah.
Give us the Aquaman game.
Money. Well, you joke, but a good Aquaman game would actually be
pretty cool. Yeah, that'd be different.
Pretty cool. Really. Yeah.
You just swim for hours to get to the land from Atlantis. Yeah.
Yeah, but you'd go super fast, so.
Yeah. But it's like in the middle of the ocean, so.
Yeah, I think they'll take some licenses with that sort of stuff. Story comes from.
Never mind, we'll talk about this another time.
PlayStationLifestyle.net says more rumors suggest a February launch and 4 special editions for The Last of Us Part 2. With the game as heavily anticipated as The Last of Us 2, many have been waiting patiently, or maybe not so, on a release date announcement. While Sony hasn't made any official comments one way or another, there's more evidence suggesting we'll get to play this long-awaited sequel in early 2020. What's more, there could be multiple versions. Now, this whole thing about versions. Who'd have thought there'd be multiple fucking collector's editions and special editions available for a AAA highly anticipated game? That stuff's like the non-part of this story to me. The release date stuff's what interests me. It's like, there might be multiple versions, special editions for this game. Fuck. Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
Basically, every big game this year has several special editions. There's $99 for the base game, $120 or $130 for some like thing that comes with a steelbook or a little bit of DLC or something. Then you've got like a $200 figure edition. I feel like that's how basically all collector's editions are. There's always 2.
Yeah, any AAA game that's
games
like base standard
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're not blowing my mind by telling me there could be multiple special editions or collector's editions for a big game like Last of Us. It says this came from noted insider Zulgex. I don't know if that's how you actually pronounce his name, but he works for. Oh, jeez, I should open his profile. I can't remember, but he's a what do you call it? Technical watches trends, whatever. Anyway, it's a legit source, a person with legit. It's not like random Twitter user A over here is doing this sort of stuff. Says, claiming once again that The Last of Us Part 2 will release in February 2020. This is a release window we've heard discussed multiple times now, all from varying sources. Early in the year, Kotaku's Jason Schreier claimed it was actually pushed to February after a planned 2019 launch. Then Ashley Johnson, the story Ash hates, seemed to have almost let the news slip out during the interview. Until we hear from Sony Naughty Dog specifically, this will be his rumor. So... Just to clarify what we've got happening here, we have Jason Schreier saying it's probably going to come out in February. We now have Zulgex, who I'm actually bringing up his Twitter profile now so I can see what it says. Senior analyst at Nikko Partners, covering the digital games market in China and Southeast Asia. Pretty sure it's the same person that posted all those or leaked those videos from the. Like the load times of the PS5 stuff, I think. Maybe. Honestly cannot remember. But, been around a while. Posts about a lot of insider sorts of stuff and whatever else. Was also the person, I think, one of the people tweeting that the PS5 is going to be more powerful than the Xbox as well as that Game Informer person. So, here's what we've got happening, everyone, though. Jason Schreier says, got pushed to February. That's what he heard. Ashley Johnson, the story Ash Hates to Love, potentially says, or nearly says, February, when in an interview. Someone else who's known to get a lot of stuff right in predicting and hearing and sourcing and whatever else, Zulgex, on Twitter, says February as well. Now, Ash, for the last time, because the game's going to be out in 8 months, whatever it is.
Yep.
Do you not believe that is coming out in February once and for all?
I do not believe it's coming out in February.
Oh my god, I don't know what I have to do to...
I mean, I think just at this point, they should just, push it back to March or April. Just to...
what? Just to fuck with people?
Yeah.
No, they can't do that.
No. I don't know.
Business
with
people.
With Uncharted 4, they pushed it back a month at the last minute, so... I feel like their release date was announced well before, and then obviously it got pushed at least twice, I believe. So maybe they're just not going to announce it until they're 100% certain it's going to come out.
I'm pretty sure you're right about the Charter thing. From memory, that sounds about right, being pushed twice. But I feel like Sony over the last 2 years has been trying to be really better at not saying a date until they can lock it in cement.
I mean...
even Nintendo's getting better at that.
Yeah. Do they just not announce it until it's gone gold?
I don't feel like you could do that these days. Then it would definitely leak and... sometimes games, even big games these days, only go gold, 6 weeks out, kind of? And which you may be like, well, that's still...
that's a fair while.
Ages.
This is The Last of Us 2. It's going to sell.
Yeah, I know. But everyone says that. But then this whole argument of it's
Fallout
it's a big enough
4.
thing. That was 9 months. No, that was... what was that? June, July, August, September, October. That was 4 months, wasn't it? Roughly 4 months.
Maybe.
That's a lot longer than 6 weeks. So... and this whole argument of if something's big enough, it doesn't really need much marketing... I'm going to fall back on this every time these days, which is they still spent $1 million marketing Endgame. So...
but they didn't spend nearly as much as they did for Infinity War.
No, but they still spent $1 million marketing Endgame.
Pretty sure it was more than $1 million, but yeah.
the point, the point.
Yeah,
though,
I know what you're getting at.
If they have to market that, then yeah,
but they didn't do that till a month out from the film.
I guess, but when you have when you have fucking Tom Holland spoiling it in every interview throughout the year, so
he didn't know anything. He didn't know what. He didn't even know he was in scenes with. He didn't even know it was coming back.
Gwyneth Paltrow didn't know what she was moving. But random side note, if anyone knows that story, there was a story up today about Sam Sebastian.
Yeah,
in an interview.
Sebastian Stan.
Yeah. Sebastian Stan, sorry. Yeah, saying like he re-met Gwyneth Paltrow and introduced himself again for the third time. I've been in movies with you. I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, I'm gonna stand by this one and say, hey, Last of Us, it's coming out February. There's too many people. There's too many people saying it's coming out February. Too many people of
I don't know
stature.
I'd have to look at what games are out then. So, not that I think they care.
Everything.
Well, because we haven't heard anything that's past that.
Cyberpunk and whatever the fuck else is out then.
Yeah.
Pretty sure there's a lot from memory on top of that. What else was big that was announced this year? That's
Watch Dogs is around
fucking Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy, yeah, they'd probably want to space those two out.
Yeah, so February maybe we'll need a new leap year after how heavy this year's.
Well, it is a leap year next year, so.
Yeah, we'll need one the year after as well for it to recover.
No, well, we get Final Fantasy on the 3rd of March, Watch Dogs on the 6th, Animal Crossing on the 20th, and then Cyberpunk's on the 16th of April. So it's not a lot there.
Yeah, but they're all big games. It's so...
That's true.
It's just, there's not much space. There's really not much. That's the thing with these big games. It's like, how long is this going to take you to beat? And we're going to talk about this time in a second, but it's like, often like, how long is Cyberpunk going to take you? I don't know, like 100, 200 hours? No,
if you had to pick...
I'll be sure.
If you had to pick today, Last of Us 2 or Cyberpunk?
Oh, come on, really? Last of Us.
Okay, Last of Us 2 is Final Fantasy 7.
Last of Us solely because
I've played the other one before.
Final Fantasy. Yeah.
See, so doesn't matter. I'm sure there's people, tons of people who like you.
Then. Last of Us 2, Cyberpunk.
Probably Cyberpunk because I couldn't finish that. I watched somebody else play Last of Us 2.
What do you mean you could
I didn't finish
that? Why don't you just go back and put it on fucking easy?
I did. No. It's fine.
Jesus Christ.
I watched somebody else play it. I know what happens.
That's not the same.
It is.
No.
I don't need to struggle through not getting past freakers and that. No, not freakers.
How far did you get?
Flickers.
How far did you get?
I got into like the tunnel where they meet the dude and his sister.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay. I mean, you were over halfway.
Yeah.
You were like 3/4. What the fuck? What mission? What happened that you was like...
I just couldn't get through that sewer.
Oh, the sewer. Yeah, I don't know why you don't just put on fucking easy. Jesus.
I did.
This is a funny thing.
It just gives you more stuff. Doesn't make it easy to get through.
Yeah, we use your stuff accordingly. The thing with The Last of Us I find quite funny because I only beat it on normal and I found that game quite challenging. And I would say this consistently. I'd be like, Last of Us on normal is pretty fucking hard. And then you'd get these people come out of the woodworks. I remember I posted this once and I said this once in like the Kind of Funny group. And of course you get the like people come out of the woodworks. I play it on the hardest difficulty and even then it's so easy. Fuck off. It was a hard game on normal.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Died very fast. Clickers coming out of nowhere. I don't know. Anyway. Moving on. So, Sony is considering acquiring more studios, apparently. So, this story comes from IGN. Sony, talking to Nike? I don't really know how to pronounce it. Translated by Gamatsu. Sony Interactive Entertainment President CEO Jim Ryan said that, quote, content is more important than ever before. I don't like the fact he's using the word content. In order to secure more content, the company is considering the merger and acquisition of game developers. The thought comes to Sony as it observes new companies enter the industry, such as Google with Stadia's streaming platform, while Sony no doubt needs to work even harder to ensure it's competitive. The gaming giant welcomes new players in the space. Quote, companies new to the game industry looking at the market with hope is something we definitely welcome, said Brian. Sony Interactive Entertainment has 25 years of experience in the games industry and has big assets. Should this become more than a consideration, it will see Sony acquire more developers for its first-party portfolio, meaning more studios working on PlayStation exclusive games. Exclusive have long been key to ensuring console success stories, and Sony has arguably seen this more than ever during this generation's lifespan. PS4 games such as God of War and Uncharted 4, I don't in Spider-Man there, to be honest, but it seems likely that Sony would want to secure more exclusives for the upcoming PS5. So the question then becomes, of course, the who, what, when, and where. And I'll say who. If you think of Sony's games, I feel like if you're looking at God of War, Spider-Man, like, hold on, let's not even count those. Let's think about what we kind of know or pretty much can predict is coming for PS5. So, Last of Us 2 will get ported over. Cool.
Yep.
Death Stranding will get ported over. Cool.
Yep.
Horizon 2 is a game that's going to happen. Spider-Man 2, I feel like, is a shoo-in because of the sales at this point. That's a no-brainer, I feel.
Ghost of Tsushima is that coming.
Ghost of Tsushima, exactly. So, what do all these have in common? They're third-person action games of some variety.
Yep.
You know? So, I feel like if you're ever thinking about like what studio should Sony be buying up or looking to fill, I don't think it should be like Sony should try and buy an Insomniac so they can lock down them as a developer for them. I don't think that's necessary because like it doesn't matter. If they're making Spider-Man 2, it's going to be PlayStation exclusive anyway because of the fact Sony still owns like
the license,
some of that IP, and it's never coming to anything else. It's solely because Sony still got some of that Sony Spider-Man license. So they don't need to buy Insomniac, I feel, at all, full stop. Believe them, they're fine. What I would say they need to either invest in a variety of studios like Microsoft has, I guess, because Microsoft, if you look at what they're buying up, Obsidian, Ninja Theory, Double Fine, you see a lot of variety. None of them are really the same. None of them are either are taking the slots that Microsoft already kind of has filled, I guess. You know, they've got 343 first-person shooters. The Gears of War team. I can't fucking remember their name. Oh, Jesus, mental blank. But you know, they're buying other stuff to fill slots they don't have, I guess. So if you look at what Sony has, what would you say their biggest missing genre is? Do you think?
Yeah, probably like a first-person shooter or something like that. Obviously, it's a bit of a hole. Arguably, they could do like a big RPG, but I think Sony's obviously got huge ties with
Square,
the Final Square or a history with Square and Final Fantasy and that sort of thing. They don't really need to. Yeah, it's interesting. I have no idea what they would get. I mean, of course, back a few months ago, there was a big rumor about them buying Take-Two.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. Which
was that like an inquiry? Maybe there was some movement. Maybe. Instead of buying one small studio, they just buy a huge.
Oh yeah, but at that stage, we'll come back to the joke of if you want to buy something and get a lot out of it, just buy fucking THQ Nordic, I suppose.
That's true. You know, they can fire all the social media people. It all runs smoothly.
Fire all these people doing fucking 4chan forums and then take up the games that they're helping put out. Yeah, I'd agree and say it's definitely first-person shooters, though, because it's funny, though, because they entered both the PS2 and the PS3 and the PS4 with Guerrilla working on first-person shooters and them having, like, a first-person shooter. So, yeah, Killzone 2, Killzone 3, and Killzone Shadowfall. They were all like launch, or I don't know if they were all launch titles, but they were all. Killzone was this mainstay, like Sony first-person franchise, and although it never, I don't think anyone could really say it truly took off the way Sony would have liked it to have, like be their Halo equivalent or something. Killzone had its fans for sure. There's no I don't think there's an argument that like the Hellgast helmet and the eyes and that sort of thing kind of became a somewhat recognizable thing, even if you didn't play those games. And then obviously they had Resistance for a while there, but now Resistance is done. Killzone's dormant. There was that thing a couple months ago where there was a story, I think, about Guerrilla hiring up potentially for what looked like them possibly splitting off another smaller team to like start working potentially on a first-person shooter on the side or something like that, which could be another Killzone. So, but even if we're going to have another Killzone, I would still say that obviously first-person shooters are one of the most, still like the biggest genre today. So I'd say that's kind of where they would want to invest. I definitely feel like if they buy some studio that is known for third-person action games, I'm probably going to be like, that's not. You've got
cool.
You
know
so
how to
much.
make those really good. So
I know, but just you want to versatile. Versatile.
We'll get them more regularly, I guess.
I guess. I mean, the alternative to buying some like AAA studio would be to spend more buying up smaller indie stuff. But I honestly don't feel like that's what Sony's going to do. I feel like Sony, after the last couple of years, being like, how have we kind of rocked this generation is by having these massive AAA games. God of War, Spider-Man.
These Game of the Year games, yeah.
These Game of the Year games. So I don't see, as much as, it's funny though, because when you look back on the history, there was that time where Sony was like BFF with the indie people.
Yeah.
You know, like Sony was known for making all these partnerships with indie games, and now the roles are kind of switched, and Xbox is the one with their thumb in the indie stuff over there.
Well, that's because they're trying to get content on Games Pass.
Well, yeah, that's true. They kind of start. Actually, I was listening to. I think someone brought this up on Podcast Beyond. I was listening to Podcast Beyond, and they made a good point I hadn't really thought about. IGN's Podcast Beyond. Can't remember who said it. Never really heard someone say it this way. And it kind of put it into perspective for me, I think. They said it's like Xbox buying up all these studios makes sense because with the way we're talking about all these game platforms and stuff at the moment, with all the streaming services happening, Ubisoft's making one, EA has one, Games Pass, whatever, like Stadia's the streaming service, obviously, Apple thing, whatever. It's like we're slowly heading towards having like a Netflix, Amazon Prime, whatever, just a bunch of streaming platforms for games is the future we're working towards. And if Xbox keeps buying studios, it means that they're going to stick those studios on their streaming service no matter what. So it means that there could come a time where someone wants to play one of their games and means they have to subscribe to their service to play it. They may not buy it, but they'll subscribe, which is the same sort of thing as like Netflix. Netflix gets this TV show. Maybe you're not subscribed to Netflix. Suddenly someone's subscribing to Netflix to watch this one TV show, and then what happens while they subscribe to that? They start watching other stuff. They stick around. All of a sudden they've paid for a year-long membership. So they were saying that's kind of how they presume Xbox is looking at it, I guess. Like buy up studios to build this portfolio for what they predict is the streaming future. Whereas I feel like Sony's just like, we're happy to have potentially have the PS5 launch somewhat like the PS4 with not that much stuff, and we'll rely on our third-party partnerships, and then in the last couple of years we'll have these massive fucking AAA games coming out year after year after year. Yep. Game of the year, nominated, winning, whatever else, and keep everyone happy. Yeah, so I honestly can't think of any one studio that I'd be like, that's the one. But I definitely feel like it should be a genre to fill a hole or something, not a duplicate thing.
Yep.
All right, last news story is about little old man Josef Fares, always making news stories when he speaks, I feel. And this time he's ruffled a few feathers when he spoke about Red Dead Redemption being too repetitive and long. He even called out God of War for being too long, but was quite happy with Spider-Man's runtime. So the story was written up by PlayStationLifestyle.net. And they say, Way Out creator Josef Ferris has said, fuck the Oscars. No, that was last time. Has said that he feels God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2 are a bit too long and repetitive, and he prefers shorter experiences like Marvel Spider-Man. At Game Lab Barcelona last week, GamesBeat asked Ferris what he thought of 2018's Game of the Year contenders and the fact that God of War took home more awards than Red Dead Redemption 2. He responded by saying Marvel Spider-Man was his personal Game of the Year winner, and he thinks that critics preferred God of War over Red Dead Redemption 2 because Sony Santa Monica, quote, did something amazing. Went on to say, when Rockstar did Red Dead 2, it's a great game in many ways. A bit too long, if you ask me. A bit too repetitive in the mission design. You'd go out and shoot something and go back. I think that's one of the reasons God of War won. And as far as games I admire again, I'm very allergic to repetitiveness in game mechanics. I felt that both God of War and Red Dead were a bit too long. I needed a shorter experience. I think that's why I was a bit more invested into Spider-Man, especially with Red Dead, that locks me out after a while. It was so long. Who has time for that? I don't even have kids. I imagine for you, could you even play the game? Who finishes these games today? So I thought that was quite funny. So, and he finished up by saying that I give credit, of course, to Corey and the team, but also to Sony for taking a very well-known IP and going in a totally different direction. That's cocky and that's risky for a AAA title. What do you make of his comments? What do you reckon?
Oh man, he's an interesting dude, isn't he? I mean, I guess his perspective is not surprising considering A Way Out is relatively short-ish. I think it's like 10 hours or something like that.
Yeah, if that, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so of course he's going to lean that particular way, I think. So, I'd agree. Red Dead's long. I never finished it. I mean, I guess certain mechanics were pretty repetitive, I guess. But that's similar with any shooting game. It's like, oh, you just shoot the bad guy.
Yeah, I agree with some things he's saying. The repetitive mechanics, I don't fully agree.
The biggest game in the world is freaking Fortnite, and that's like the same thing every single game.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not a big believer in the game being too repetitive unless it really is repetitive. Like I know there's a line there, but at the same time, I just believe that every game by nature is repetitive to a fault, kind of. You know. Like,
yeah,
you could argue this game isn't very, very repetitive, but then when you boil it down, it's like, well, what are you doing? Like, you could be like, oh, this game's like very story based. It's not repetitive. You're always doing something different. And like, well, you're always moving forward and then unlocking doors, and like,
it's just
you can
if you
find
notice the
repetition.
repetitiveness is more than anything else.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on. Yeah, exactly. It's like how repetitive it is if you notice it at all, I suppose. But I was going to say, where do you fall? But I guess you kind of answered the question of if games can be too long and if being too long is a problem. Or do you think it just depends? Like,
it just depends on the game. It depends on what the content is. How long is Witcher 3? That'd be like...
Well, I mean, it's an interesting question because it's like, how long is Witcher 3 if you just rush through it, or how long is Witcher 3 if you do all the side quests?
Yeah. But you wouldn't say that was too long.
No. Yeah. But and
everyone's going to have their own threshold of how long they're going to stick with something.
I can definitely say that I get turned off by game's length if I know about it going in, potentially. Especially if I'm not 100% like I'm sold. Like, if I'm not 100% sold, I definitely want to play this no matter what I'm in. The length of a game can turn me off playing it.
Like, Days Gone.
Well, I didn't know going in, so I saved myself there. But like,
anybody going into it now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Back when Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, in a world where no one had no idea how long that would be, which kind of is silly considering it's made by Rockstar, but pretend it was like Rockstar's first game or something. I don't know. Just to make my point here, I probably would have actually gave it a fair swing then. But I never even considered it really, because I was like, for me to even put a decent amount of time in this game to feel like I have played enough to have formed an opinion, I'd have to play like 10 hours or so because that's how long the fucking game is, you know? Like, that's because of how long these games are sometimes, I feel like I have to play at least fucking 8 to 10 hours to even say I've had a fair shake of the
and that's
whatever
even
the saying is.
scratching the surface in most of these.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I don't know. I like how it's just like, I don't even have kids. How the fuck do you have time to play? How do you have time to play these things? I find it quite funny. But yeah, the game like thing is interesting. How do you feel about the God of War thing? Him saying God of War's too long. Do you reckon?
Not for me, but I could see how some people might think it was a bit too long. Like certain sections.
Yeah. I would say if you cut the trolls.
I mean, you would save time.
You maybe get a better runtime there.
You know,
yeah, overall, I feel like God of War was riding the line, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, it was getting close to being too long. Close. It was just chipping along. Chippity chip. But it's funny though, because you can look at something and be like, oh, 60-hour story mode, that takes too long. But then it's kind of like you play a bunch of multiplayer game and all of a sudden you spend 100 hours on clicking rematch in Fortnite and you've spent more times, but you'd be like, and it's the same as, you know, some people binge watch lots of TV shows and you'll be like, why don't you watch that movie? And it's like, oh, I don't really have time. I don't have too much time. But it'll be like, well, you've watched like 2 seasons of this show this week.
Yeah.
Why don't you have time to watch a movie? And, you know, and people actually like that because I guess the commitment of staring at a movie's runtime and being like, oh, that's 2 hours. Ugh, 2 hours. I don't know if I have time for 2 hours. But then they're like, I'll just watch a couple episodes. And next second they've watched 3 hours of, you know.
Oh yeah, 3 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. You know, and it's like an entry point. I often find that interesting when it comes to movies and TV. And even I do that sometimes, you know. I'll be like, I want to watch something and I'll look at a couple movies and be like, 2.5 hours. I don't know. Like, it's commitment. I don't know. Like, I can do it. But then you'll just end up watching like a bunch of TV anyway. It's the same amount of fucking time, if not longer. So.
PSVR for the players.
Right, so game of the year last year, or potentially one of the games one of my games of the year last year, Firewall 0 Hour, get an update. It's entering its 1 year. One year birthday is coming up right around the corner. So we're getting a new Contractor and a new map. So I really need to jump back into this scene and try out all these things when they release, that's for sure. So, and you all should too, because I was watching some video of it the other day and I just feel like they're constantly, not that, obviously I already loved it when it released, but I feel like they're constantly tweaking it and working on it and making
it's getting that Rainbow Six Siege treatment.
Yeah, just
obviously not to the same degree or scale, but
improving constantly.
Yeah,
getting better. A year later, it's better than ever, kind of thing, like Rainbow Six, who everyone hated when it released, which is quite funny when you think about. So it comes from Upload VR. It says Firewall 0 Hour is almost a year old and still getting new content on a regular basis following the release of Operation Nightfall, which was the thing we talked about a couple weeks ago, which was their like thing where they added a battle pass type system to it and updated the UI and a whole bunch of new stuff. It continues. The PSVR exclusive team-based tactical VR shooter suffered from a slew of connection issues and bugs that rendered it basically unplayable for weeks. RIP. Luckily, that's all been resolved. Woo! And First Contact Entertainment have it back up and running. Yesterday, developers have revealed the mid-season update that includes a brand new map located in Afghanistan. They'll be free for all players, and a brand new contractor named Lynx. That's right, like the deodorant. that can revive himself as a special perk. You can see more details in the trailer below. What makes the new map dubbed FOB for Operation Base is that it features a persistent sandstorm as a weather hazard that limits the visibility and introduces some really interesting dynamics by being both a relatively large map that is difficult to use long-range weapons on. This update also includes improved AI for the single-player training missions, which have been sorely needed for quite some time. With its 1 year anniversary fast approaching, Firewall 0 Hour is top of mind still for a lot of PSVR players. It just came off a free weekend promoted the PS4, which included double XP for all players. blah, 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 blah. So I'm glad they're adding more content. I like everything. This map looks really cool too because it doesn't look anything like their other maps for the game, which is, I mean, for any multiplayer game, it's always a good thing to add a map that doesn't look like any of the others. But most other maps for Firewall are like indoor areas and these sorts of things, and none of them have weather effects. This is the first one they have added. Like a sandstorm is pretty cool, and it's obviously hard to tell in the video how cool it'll be to play until I try it out officially. But I'm like, I don't know, sandstorm VR sounds pretty interesting and cool. And in the YouTube video where they announced that they have the sound designer talking about, he's like, it's the first time I've had to try and make sandstorm work in like audio, because obviously when you're doing a VR game, the sound design's important for placement and these sorts of things. So I find that quite interesting.
Maybe you
like,
have to move your hand up and like wipe your visor because of the sand.
I wish. Just make the most hardcore tactical fucking shoot possible. And it looks pretty good too. There's another thing they talk about in the trailer is how most people making PSVR games like kind of stray away from realistic looking stuff. And obviously this is supposed to be a rather realistic looking setting. And they said they really tried to make it as realistic looking as you can in VR. And once again, you're watching the trailer, it's hard to tell because VR stuff always looks a lot worse in video than when you actually have the headset on. But from what I can see in the trailer, it looks pretty good, and I'm intrigued. I'm definitely looking forward to checking this one out. And the new Contractor sounds pretty cool as well. Obviously, the perk of being able to revive yourself after death is pretty handy. Just going to come down to where and when you decide to use such a special ability. Another thing is, I don't know if it'll be super obvious what character you're playing, because you can like add skins to your character and like customize the way you look a little bit. Because obviously, if everyone knows you're that character and they shoot you, then they'll just go to like, all right, get back up. Just stand there with a gun over you. Get back up then. I'll just wait. But if they don't know you're the actual character, then it can be used a lot more interesting, because then you could wait for everyone to kind of leave before you revive yourself. I don't know if there's going to be a timer on before you revive yourself, which I feel like there should be, because if you wait too long, I feel like it would just be a really unfair ability. But more Firewall 0 hour stuff is always cool for sure. And the last VR thing for this week is Iron Man VR sets new reveals at San Diego Comic-Con. Story once again coming from Upload VR. Says it's July. You know what that means. Marvel Studios is probably going to announce its Phase 4 slate, which, by the way, that was confirmed today as well. Bit of movie news for you. They did say they're going to announce Phase 4 slate at Comic-Con, so bit of cross-promotion here. That's why you're here, right? Oh, wait, no, never mind. Specifically, the recently announced Iron Man VR will star in the Marvel Games panel. The panel hosted by our friend Greg Miller will feature unannounced special surprises and panel exclusives for the game. Miller will be joined by Marvel Games VP Bill Rossman and a bunch of developers. The panel takes place on July 18th at 1:30 p.m. in Hall H, and also includes Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 and Square Enix's Avengers game. But that's not all. The Marvel booth will also offer hands-on time with Iron Man VR, and there's a signing session for the game on July 19th at blah, 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 blah. Iron Man VR is a PSVR exclusive being made by Camouflage, the studio behind Republic. As the name suggests, the game will put you in the shoes and suit of Tony Stark himself, allowing you to armor up and take to the skies with the PlayStation Move controllers. We got an early look at the game following its announcement and came away pleasantly surprised. Excited for some more information about Iron Man VR very soon, Ash.
Yeah, who wouldn't be excited to hear more news? We only really got a glimpse at it at the first state of play, so any more news is good news, unless it's bad news.
Yeah, I was thinking about this recently as like its own sort of topic, but I don't know how I was going to tackle it. But when I read this originally and I saved it for the show, I was like, it's funny because they announced it, and then that state of play, I was like, I'm not getting hyped about this because I don't know if it's on rails or how it's going to go. And it wasn't until people played it and I read preview coverage and people were like, hey, you hold your hands down, you've got free movement, it's like a full-on story. I'm like, oh, this sounds awesome. And I put it into perspective and I'm like, I got way more excited after reading coverage than an actual trailer. And this seems to be a continuing trend with VR games. You know, they'll release a trailer and I'll be like, don't know. Like, I need more information. I'll read preview coverage. Oh, I'm excited. So it just makes me more and more wonder why they don't do more VR demos. Now, I think these days they don't do many demos full stop like they used to even back on the PS3. They barely do fuck all demos these days. But if anything could... fuck, I'm mental blank on the word I'm trying to pick it. If anything could... benefit. If anything could benefit from demos these days, it would be VR stuff. So imagine a world where they come out, they do the panel, they talk about Iron Man VR. Greg Miller asks a bunch of questions. We get a bunch of answers. We're all like, that sounds great. And then they're like, and there's a 10-minute demo on the PlayStation Store now. Or will be up on Monday or what have you. They should just do that more for VR games, I think.
Yeah, that would be good.
It's just so hard to sell without actually...
Experiencing it.
Yeah.
That's why they've got those like demo packs that come out reasonably regularly.
Yeah, I guess, but it's like when they're trying to hype up a game.
But it's only
like
after
this,
the game's released, normally, those come out. So
you want to hype up a game like Iron Man VR and understand that that's kind of the media's job to a point to inform us, which they are, because obviously it worked for me. I read all the stuff. I'm like, Iron Man VR sounds awesome. I can't wait to play it. But at the same time, think about all the people who aren't going to read preview coverage or whatever. They could put a demo on the front page. Here you go. Get excited. Play this. It's only 10 minutes. It's only 5 minutes. It could be 5 fucking minutes and you would still be like, oh, I can fully control. I like the way this shoots. Whatever. This sounds awesome. So, nonetheless, Iron Man VR. I'm wondering, when do you reckon it's going to come out if they're doing a...
don't know. I mean, if it was they were giving it to people to play, I guess it's reasonably far along, but they could have just perfected that one level, so.
Yeah. I feel like it would have to come out maybe like...
in this calendar
September.
year, I'd imagine.
Yeah. I'm thinking it could be like September, October-ish would be good. I'm just wondering how long it's going to be, I guess. If they're saying it's like a full thing as well.
I would guess like 8 hours, which would be pretty good.
Pretty long for a VR game. Very long for a VR game.
Yeah.
That's like a Blood and Truth length, and that was quite long for a VR game. So, either way, excited to learn more. Of course, Iron Man VR. Learn more information about Comic-Con. We'll talk about it here. We'll do all the things. Comic-Con's right around the corner. Get excited. Get pumped.
Oof.
Woo is the correct answer to that, Ash. Not.
I'm disappointed I'm not there.
Not Comic-Con. I don't want to.
Why do I have to experience it on the other side of the world?
Oh dear. You can follow me on Twitter at PeopleDil. You can follow Ash on Twitter and be like, it's okay. One day you'll get to go to Comic-Con.
Tweet me your Comic-Con passes and
tweet
tickets.
Tweet Ash some Comic-Con passes, even if you've only photoshopped them. At Ashley Hobley, SHLEYHOBLEY. And you can follow the show on Twitter at Podcast. Don't forget to rate the show on Apple Podcasts if you can, and if not, bit of word of mouth. Enjoy it, tell a friend, do what you need to do. Join our Discord at explosionnetwork.com Discord, talk about all the fancy things. And this is, of course, a product of Explosion Network, of which you can find many more shows, articles, news, reviews, and pretty dangly things to hang on your wall. ExplosionNetwork.com, and follow Explosion Network on Twitter. What do you give me that face for? Follow Explosion
what
Network
dangly
on
things
Twitter.
do we have?
My face. You print them off. You take a screenshot. You print it off.
We could probably just make a page of like cut out masks.
Bookmarks, doorstops, door hangers.
Yeah.
Bookmarks.
We'll get our design person on that.
Bookmarks. You can follow Explosion Network on Twitter at ExplosionPod. And until next week, remember that every trophy counts.
I mean, bookmarks wouldn't be a terrible idea.
I mean, it's not terrible.
It sounds cheap.
People still read these days, I think.